This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
You know, Joe Rogan does a bit in his stand-up, a good bit. He goes off on this riff about how things have changed in this country. He says before 2020, he believed vaccines were the greatest invention in humankind. He believed in your medical experts. He believed experts. He believed things they told him. After COVID, he doesn't think we landed on the moon. They have done this to us. It's their fault. It's not your fault, to quote Robert Williams in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. They have done this to us. They have turned us into conspiracy theorists. And I'm one of them. I'm one of them. After yesterday, after Donald Trump's attempt to get us all to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal in the middle of his cabinet meeting. This was bizarre. And I will say this, to me, was the most disappointing moment in Trump's entire presidency. These 6 months, these 140 days, as well as the first 4 years. I couldn't believe what he was doing. I couldn't believe what he was saying. This was a question from a reporter from the New York Post, Stephen Nelson, I'm sorry, not Steven Tyler, Stephen Nelson, a perfectly appropriate question under the circumstances. And Pam Bondi was attempting to answer it. She was lying again. She's on the hot seat, as well she should be. This is a woman who promised that we would see the Epstein files, promised we would get some details, and people would be held accountable. Of course. They should be. Of course, the Trump administration promised they would be, and now we're being told to move on. We're not being told, we can't release it because of sensitive information. We're being told, move on. Stop asking. Stop caring about a massive sex trafficking ring that children, young girls, and we're being told there's nothing to see here. You have to be kidding me. This is not good. Let me just say, this is not good. We're not moving on. I know there are a few hardcore MAGA people out who are going along with Trump's wishes here and saying we're going to move on. There are more important things to do. We're talking about the Texas floods, or we'll talk about the economy or the tariffs. No. We can get to that. We can do both. We can handle it, but you're not going to get us to move on. You're not going to get us to forget what you promised. Trump has kept most of his promises. Trump has had a spectacular first 6 months of his second term, as I've said, every day. He has been delivering every day. He's been doing his best to drain the swamp, to dismantle the machine. But this cannot stand. This is outrageous. On March 1st, 2025, Pam Bondi told Mark then there were 254 victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. 254, most of them kids, underage kids. And now we're supposed to think there was one perpetrator, one man, and his pimp, Ghislaine, and that's it. And we know famous, powerful people visited the island. We know they traveled on Lolita Express. We know Bill Clinton was on that plane 26 times. We know Bill Gates was on that plane on that island. His wife divorced him because he wouldn't quit Jeffrey Epstein. He was having too much fun. We know others, Reid Hoffman. We know there have been powerful, rich, influential people who were involved with this. And Trump says, move on? No, that is not going to happen. And I was glad to see a number of people, a number of big-time MAGA supporters, people who did everything they could to get Trump elected. People like Laura Loomer, who says Pam Bondi must be fired. Megyn Kelly said Pam Bondi must go. Of course, Elon Musk said, how can we trust him again? How can we believe him again if they do not come through on this, if they do not fulfill the promise they made that these people would be brought to justice? This is a conspiracy. This is an outrage telling us we're not supposed to talk about this. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Do we have the whole clip, Ironhead? Because we need the question, which was perfectly appropriate, well put. Bondi attempts to answer it in her clumsy, evasive way. And then Trump steps in and says, are you really asking that? This is the strategy that you're going to tell us it's irrelevant or it's old news? Can I remind you that Donald Trump never stops talking about the 2020 election, the rigged election. He wouldn't mind if they asked about, the laptop from hell or the Russia hoax or the Mar-a-Lago raid or all the indictments in New York. That's old news. He never says move on from that, but we're supposed to move on from this. I'm sorry, we're not. Here's Trump yesterday in, I would say, the lowest moment of his 4 years and 6 months in the Oval Office. Go ahead.
Sure.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the news?
Yeah, sure.
Did I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
You got to be kidding. I watched this live and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I understand that maybe they got to him. Maybe they said, we can't do this. There's too many world leaders. By the way, Netanyahu and his whole team were here 2 days ago and there's all the rumors about Israeli intelligence, the Mossad being involved with Epstein. I don't know if that's true, but it's a legitimate question. Indeed, it's a question everybody, on both sides of the aisle, MAGA people, Democrat, everybody wants an answer to this. Again, 250 victims, according to that woman, the Attorney General. I know there were a lot of victims in the Texas flooding. I know there were a lot of kids lost their life. It's awful. It's tragic. That cabinet meeting was 1 hour and 45 minutes long. That meeting was longer than all 9 of Biden's cabinet meetings combined. Trump spent 5 minutes talking about a grandfather clock that he saw in the State Department, and he wanted to bring it to the White House, and everyone laughed, had a good time. It was fine. It was Trump. And you're telling me we don't have time to talk about one of the worst, one of the most prolific sex trafficking rings in the history of this country, where only one man has been brought to justice, one man and one woman, and that's it? 250 victims, and we're just going to say it was all Epstein? How do they expect that to fly? How are we supposed to accept that? I don't think anybody is going to. I think I think there are people who are going to do whatever Trump says. Okay, we're moving on. Can't derail the agenda. I don't think it derails the agenda, but I do think it raises serious questions. There is no way this is on the level. There's no way they just decided, we don't have the evidence. We don't want to put the victims through this. What? There were hundreds of girls trafficked to that island and to the other Epstein properties. And you expect us to just say, okay, there's more important things? Again, there were an hour. There was over an hour of questions. Many of them were important, but some, were just routine questions. And a question about Epstein is irrelevant now. We're supposed to move on. No. Here is Bondi just a couple of months ago. This woman is in over her head. Let's be honest. I say this every day. I love Trump's cabinet. I love the people he surrounded himself. I love Vance and Rubio and Hegseth and Lee Zeldin, who might be my favorite. We'll get to Lee. But here's his attorney general, the top in law enforcement official in the country, talking about Epstein and his crimes. And now, 2 months later, or whatever it is, we're supposed to just say, never mind, we're moving on. How is that? How do you expect us to do that? How do you expect us to fall in line and just move on and let it go? Listen to her.
This will make you sick. 200 victims, 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did, along with his co-defendant.
There you go. Pretty sick what that man did, along with his co-defendants. Get the date on that for me, Ironhead. That was in this term. That was in the spring. We're going to get names and flight logs, and it's pretty sick what the man did, along with his co-defendants. She said she had the client list on her desk, and now she says, well, not really. I just had a file along with a bunch of other files. No, files is plural. You said it is on my desk. It. That would mean the client list. And there she said, you will get names. Now, obviously, someone got to her. Obviously, someone said, we can't do this. There are too many important people involved here. Americans, foreigners, who knows, but really influential people. And we know that. And you expect us to go along and move up. That would mean, we're participating in the biggest cover-up we've ever seen. That I don't understand how Trump or the people around Trump or she or any, I don't understand how they expect that to fly. Obviously, it was planned. Trump would jump in and say, are you still talking about that? He said, that's unbelievable that people want to know why no one has been held accountable for these egregious crimes. And we're just supposed to say, okay, let's talk about tariffs. Let's talk about the grandfather clock that you really love, or our 250th anniversary celebration. Let's talk about good things. This is madness. What we're dealing with right now. For some more details. In 2021, New York Times reported that there was indeed a black book, that Jeffrey Epstein had a black book with names, with details, with evidence. What about that? Where's the black book? She said there are videos that are child porn that Epstein made, and we will never see that because it's child porn. Okay, last I checked, child porn is a pretty serious crime. Why isn't anyone been arrested? Why isn't anyone we got a picture of Bill Clinton getting a massage in the airport from one of the victims, an underage girl. What about that? Does she get justice? What about Virginia Giuffre, who killed herself a couple of months ago? Does she get justice? Or are we just supposed to be content with 2 convictions? One suicide essentially, and one conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell. Can you get the report from Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction up there? This is amazing. let me read what she was convicted of, and you tell me if this could ever possibly involve just two people. Here it is. This is from the story of Ghislaine Maxwell's case and her conviction. It's here it is. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted in December 2021 of 5 of 6 federal charges related to her role in recruiting, grooming, and facilitating the sexual abuse of minor girls by Jeffrey Epstein. The charges included conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in sex acts, conspiracy to transport minors to participate in illegal sex acts, transporting a minor to participate in, it sounds like the same charge, sex trafficking conspiracy, and sex trafficking of a minor. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison for these crimes, which involved enticing and grooming girls as young as 14. That we're supposed to think that was it. She did that. 250 girls for one man, Jeffrey Epstein, that all the visitors, all the famous people, all the rich people who went with him to that island or to Palm Beach or to New Mexico somehow didn't cross the line. What did they go? Were they like Alan Dershowitz, who said he never took his underwear off when he got massages at Epstein's house, in Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach? Are we supposed to believe that? This is just crazy. We'll give you another account of someone who saw the evidence. Alina Habba. Was Trump's lawyer. We've seen her. She's been on TV a lot. She's now the U.S. attorney in New Jersey, but she was by Trump's side throughout the whole campaign, all the cases. She's very much involved. Here she is with Piers Morgan talking about the evidence, the mountain of evidence in the Epstein case. You tell me again if you think it's possible that there could just be one man involved in all these crimes against children. Go ahead.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
You really believe with Cash and Pam, there'll be accountability? Well, Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, I like these guys. I love their fight. I was a big Bongino fan when he was doing podcasting and radio, but they promised over and over again there'd be accountability in just this area of crimes that were committed, that were covered up. And now we're told Epstein killed himself, and, we don't really have the evidence against they got to them. That's the only explanation. They got to them. They told them the stakes were too high. They cannot name names. What other explanation can there be? They know the seriousness of the crimes. They know the victims were children. They know it's sickening. They even said it. They said it was sickening and disgusting. And now no one's going to be held accountable. It's amazing. And don't forget, Pam Bondi not only said on February 26th that there will be evidence that will be sickening and disturbing. She also handed out binders to 15 right-wing influencers. And we were supposed to believe that was the big bombshell, that she was going to that she was going to out everybody. So she handed on February 27th these binders to a bunch of right-wing influencers like Libs of TikTok and DC Drano and all these people, and they held them up for the cameras and they waved them. There they are. This was it. Remember this moment? Liz Wheeler. There's Libs of TikTok in the middle. That everything in that binder was already public information. There were no names. There was no news. I'm sorry, but you have to explain this, Pam Bondi. What's the explanation? There's Cernovich in the back. What was the explanation for this stunt? This is why people want her gone. This is just a disaster, this stunt. You're thinking when it kind of fizzled out, okay, it didn't work. Let's wait a week, 2 weeks, 2 months for the names, for the evidence. And not only did she not produce it after promising to produce it, but now it appears we're never going to see it. Now it appears that the Trump administration is doing just what the Biden administration did and the Obama administration. They are covering for people. They're covering for rich, powerful people. And that goes against everything Trump promised to do. I don't see how they can make this right if they don't change course and give us the names, give us the evidence. Nobody is moving on. Some people are willing to move on because they support Trump and they don't want any stumbles and fumbles here. But your average MAGA person, your average Trump supporter is not going to take this. Again, Trump's not being honest here. Trump's not being sincere. He doesn't want to move on. He knows we shouldn't move on. It was clumsy. It was obvious that for whatever reason, the Trump administration is going to participate in this cover-up, in this scandal. And you know what else? I believe this breaking news, this leak to Fox News that they are investigating James Comey and James Brennan. I was going to say James Clapper. I'm not sure why he's not involved here, but Brennan and Clapper, John Brennan, James Comey, are under investigation. And I'm like everyone else at this point. Again, back to Rogan. We're all conspiracy theorists. This stinks. This appears to me to be a little shell game. Look over there. Don't look over here. Wow. The DOJ, they're not messing around. They're coming after these deep state snakes. Well, that's good. I'm not sure why they didn't do this in January. These guys are criminals. These guys have perjured themselves under oath on camera. They should have been indicted a long time ago. It's good. I'm glad. But it just stinks that the heat was on the DOJ. The heat was on Pam Bondi. And then we get this, a leak of not of an indictment, not of an arrest, but an investigation. That's not how this is supposed to work. You don't leak, you don't announce an investigation unless you're trying to distract people from something else. And that is what this feels like. Again, I'm glad they're coming after these two. They belong behind bars. Their crimes, forget perjury, and that's obviously what they're going to get them on, hopefully. I mean, they tried to undermine the sitting president of the United States. Hell, they tried to undermine the candidate Trump, and then when he was elected, they knew the Steele dossier was bull. They knew it wasn't real. They knew Trump wasn't colluding with Russia. They got warrants based on faulty information, and they knew it. Hell, Obama knew it. Biden knew it. They all knew it. This is the two leaders of this effort to destroy Trump with completely fake, made-up evidence about Russia collusion. So good. They should be investigated. They should be indicted. They should be arrested. They should go to jail. But we're not moving on. I don't care what you do. We're not moving on from the Epstein scandal. It's just not right. We're talking about children. We're talking about young girls. We're talking about the most egregious crimes a person could commit. And I hope that the media doesn't move on. I hope they investigate further. I hope we find out what is going on here. But it is really disappointing to see for the first time. Well, this is a deep state scandal. This is protecting powerful people. And the Trump team, the Trump guys, they weren't supposed to do that. It was supposed to be the opposite. We were supposed to get all these creeps, all these criminals. And I hope they get Comey. I hope they get Brennan. I hope they get Clapper. I hope they get Biden and Clinton and Biden and Obama and a whole bunch of them. They all participated in the conspiracy to bring down Trump based on false, fabricated evidence. That those are real crimes. Just a reminder that they put grandmas who walked to the Capitol in prison for whatever, parading through the Capitol. Nonviolent protesters went to prison, sometimes for years. And the people who went to Epstein Island are just going to walk. They're not even going to be named. It's just so wrong. And again, first worst misstep I have seen from the Trump administration. And I'm not even sure how you make it right at this point, other than release the names, release the evidence. Maybe you leak it to somebody, friendly reporter, but you can't expect us to move on. All right. There's so many questions. You know that Jeffrey Epstein not only had 4 multi-million-dollar houses, he had the biggest townhome in New York City. He had an entire island in the Virgin Islands. He was worth $500 million. No one knew how he made his money. $500 million. How many people had worked for him? How many people were, flying on planes with him, who were helping out, working in his homes? How many service people did he have? Errand boys. None of them are willing to talk. I mean, it would seem you would have so many witnesses, so many people who saw the people, the men who were flown to that island. And you're going to tell us it's old news, Donald? It's old news. But the 2020 rigged election and Russiagate and all that, we're all over that. But this is old news.
The problem with it, though, is any witness immediately incriminates themselves.
I mean, we have pictures of them. We know Bill Gates was there. We know Reid Hoffman was there. So what are you telling us? That they were just tourists? That they just went there for the sun and the boat drinks and the pool? I mean, they didn't participate as Epstein was raping kids. What'd they do? Look the other way? This is bad. This is bad. I hate to say it, but this is bad. All right, we're not moving on from that, but we're going to move on to so much more. I am just disgusted. I'm infuriated. I'm disappointed. This is just wrong. But we'll get to. We're going to stay on it. We're going to stay on it and see what happens. I hope the next time Pam Bondi is taking questions, I hope the first question, second question, third question are about Epstein. I'm not sure how she survives this. I'm really not. She is not only has she proven to be weak, but she is lying. She is lying, saying, "Oh, there's just a bunch of child porn videos, and you're never going to see those." What? That's your explanation? We're never going to see him. We don't want to see him. No one asked to see him. We want to see the list, the names, the evidence, the flight logs that you promised. It is scary. Honest to God, it is a little scary to think that you have this vast conspiracy and now the Trump administration has agreed for whatever reason to participate in it. I don't think Trump is on the list. I really don't. I don't think he went to the island. Why do I think that? Because if he did, the Biden crime family would have leaked that. You think when they were trying to put him in prison and bankrupt him and raiding his home and shooting him in the head, you don't think they would have said, "Oh, look, he's on the client list. He's on the Epstein list. He was on the island. Let's leak it. Let's release it." Of course they would. Trump wasn't there. Trump's not involved. But a lot of other powerful people are, and we need to know. All right, we got to get to so much more here. We got to get to this. You know what? We'll talk a little bit more about Brennan and Comey. We got another Biden book out, and boy, it's more embarrassing than the last one. What a scandal! What an absolute scandal that we had this feeble old husk of a man in the White House. We'll give you the latest on that, and a big scandal in Boston, an outrageous story coming out of Boston. Yes, Mayor Wu our teen mayor, who is an absolute disaster, allowed agents of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, into City Hall to hold meetings. Yes, you heard that right. The Daily Caller has a story. We'll get to that and more. But first,
Excuse me.
you know, nothing wakes you up like losing a loved one. I know, I've been there a little too often recently. You think, what about me? You do a lot of soul searching and you wonder, will my family be prepared financially if something were to happen to me? The last thing you want is your family to worry about how they're going to pay the bills. With life insurance from Ethos, your family is protected. I know it's not a pleasant thought, but you know what's worse? Wondering, will my family be able to stay in the house? Will my kids be able to go to college? Will my wife be able to pay the bills? Life insurance from Ethos gives you peace of mind. I know it did for me. It's one big bucket list thing you get to cross off. I know traditional life insurance can be complicated, but Ethos isn't. Ethos makes it easy. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Newsmax. That's ethos.com/Newsmax. Give me that Comey Brennan report because I want to talk about it. It's, again, they gave us no reason to trust them. They one day after we're told, actually the same day we're told we got to move on from Epstein, we're told, oh, hey, we're not sitting back. We're coming after Brennan and Coney. This is from Fox News yesterday.
Breaking news, Brooke Singman of Fox News Digital has discovered exclusively that the FBI is now investigating the former CIA director John Brennan and the former FBI director James Comey in conjunction with the genesis of the Russia investigation. This comes after the CIA declassified last week a report into how that all came about. Let's bring in our panel to talk more about this. Andy Linsky, the White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal.
Here's a tweet from a career prosecutor, former Marine named Reeve Swanson. I think he tweeted this out this morning, and this was eye-opening. He says, may I piss all over your parade for a moment? Sure, go ahead, Reeve. Real investigations are not announced. They are executed. No hashtags, no podiums, no breathless cable segments. If you're hearing about one, it is either over or it was never real in the first place. I've led federal investigations that went all the way to convictions without a single leak. You know why? Because we're professionals. Because when you're hunting predators, you do not bang pots and pans to announce your presence. You track them, you trap them, and then you end them. The moment an investigation becomes a media campaign, it is dead. It is lawfare. It is a psychological op. It is public masturbation by cowards pretending to seek justice while actually chasing headlines, vendettas, or election boosts. In fact, I've seen cases burned to the ground by people who could not keep their mouths shut, usually from inside the DOJ, the FBI, or some self-important clown in Congress, desperate to be in the know. They do not want justice. They want airtime. I had a boss once who tried to get me to jump into the money. It never happened because it will never happen. Let me say it plainly. Indictments are announced. Investigations are secret. What you are watching is a circus. I was wondering that. How often do you see leaks, stories, breaking news? There's an investigation. You don't. What investigator does that? Whether it's the DOJ, FBI, whatever, local cops, they don't drop a dime and say, we're investigating. You say, we are indicting or arresting. And by the way, there's been enough evidence to indict these clowns for years. We've seen it with our own eyes that they've been under oath and lied. We know what they did with the Steele dossier. We know they are criminals, and we've been calling for this for years. And it just so happens we find out they're under investigation on the day Trump said we must move on from Epstein. This stinks, and I hope they indict him. Hope they arrest him. I hope they go. John Brennan is the worst person in the world. He's a communist. He literally voted for a communist, Gus Hall, for president when he was younger. He is evil. He is rotten. He is just sinister. So is Comey. They both belong behind bars, and that's a good thing. But I'm not. I'm not buying that they just so happened to, some enterprising reporter just so happened to learn there was an investigation. They tried to do this to get us off Epstein, and it's not going to work. We can handle both. We can handle both. All right. I want to get to this story out of Boston from the Daily Caller. Of course, I haven't read it in the Boston Globe yet. I don't think there are going to be a lot of stories in the Globe about this, but it is remarkable. We have some of the most nefarious characters in public office, mostly in big cities, blue cities like Brandon Johnson and Karen Bass, another communist, by the way, who went for training to Cuba. And Brandon Johnson in Chicago blaming whatever white supremacy on the 55 people who were shot over the weekend in Chicago. And then in Boston, obviously in New York, we're going to have an actual communist in November who's most likely going to be the next mayor. But I don't think Boston's far behind. We have a sitting mayor who with ties to the CCP. Here it is from the Daily Caller. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu's administration appears to have a cozy relationship with a nonprofit that has repeatedly hosted members of the Chinese Communist Party and Beijing's intelligence network in City Hall. The Daily News discovered the Boston Urban Forum, BUF, bills itself as a nonprofit that convenes a monthly event held at Boston City Hall, which invites officials and professionals from political, academic, and business sectors to discuss municipal policies and livelihood issues. However, individuals identified as CCP members in the Chinese government and state media, reports have served as moderators and guest speakers for at least half of the events. And they got details. These are agents of the CCP. Here's a Canadian investigative journalist. I guess you have to go to Canada if you want to know what's going on in Boston. China has installed hundreds of CCP proxies in every major city across America. These proxies present themselves as civic-minded leaders working to bridge the cultural divide between the U.S. and China, but they're anything but civic-minded. These bad actors blend in clandestinely, hiding their true allegiance to the motherland behind respectable veneer of legitimate U.S.-based government organizations. This is a Chinese Communist Party organization that holds monthly meetings in Boston City Hall. And we know Mayor Wu has taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from the CCP. She's up for election in November, and she's leading in the polls because most of the people who support her are just brain dead, sheep. Say, she's the Democrat. Got to vote for her. She's a Liz Warren protege. She's a very shady character. This is a huge story, and it will be ignored. I'll bet. I'll keep an eye on it, but it will be ignored by the Boston Globe and many others in the local media. It's hard to believe we've reached that point where we're talking about the CCP she doesn't even allow, she has, parties where no white people are allowed. She doesn't promote white people, hire white people, but the Chinese Communist Party, come on in. Let's hear what he has to say. That is scary. Zohran Mamdani's not the only radical who occupy a city hall in a major city. Zohran Mamdani, by the way, a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood. He has people on his staff who are Islamicists, who support jihad, who say globalize the intifada. That guy is going to be mayor in 4 months or 6 months. It is just frightening. All right. We got so much to get to. I don't even, you know what? I want to talk about the attacks on ICE again, because they're going to increase. ICE just got funding for, I think, 10,000 new agents, all kinds of support in the big, beautiful bill. Tom Homan is promising to double and triple down going into blue states and sanctuary cities, which means what happened over the weekend in Texas is going to happen again. As Holman has been saying for months, somebody is going to die. Somebody is going to get shot. And I was following the story about the ambush in Alvarado, Texas, 12 Antifa radicals, including two trans Tifas, two guys pretending to be women in black clothing, tactical gear, AR-15s. They had a device, a bag where you could put your cell phones and they couldn't track you. They had, they were prepared to go to war. We are lucky that they're losers and just useless people who didn't know what they were doing. It's amazing that you had 12 people, armed people, there to ambush ICE, and no ICE agent died. One guy shot in the neck, he'll be okay. That is a miracle that nobody died, or at least no ICE agents died. They arrest them all. They're facing 10 years minimum in federal prison, which got to me to thinking, they're willing to give up their life to protect illegal aliens, to stop federal agents from arresting hardened criminal illegal aliens. They have an advantage. They have insane people. They have people who don't care about their own lives, who don't care if they go to prison, and they're dedicated to stopping ICE. That is a scary thing. This is just one weekend in one state. You had 2 attacks on ICE, one coordinated, funded, and it failed, thankfully. They didn't carry it out. They caught them. They prosecuted them. They did it in Texas. They're facing a slew of charges. But here's the scary thought, that there are people, soulless, just mindless, nihilists, who are willing to give it all up to stop ICE. And ICE is just starting. It's only been 6 months. We have at least 3.5 more years of this to get 20 million illegals out. So it might be this weekend, might be next month, that. But people are going to die. Hopefully it's Antifa people who die. But they have this group, these people who are willing to give it all up. That's amazing. And not give it all up to fight whatever against a war or fight whatever, some policy of the federal government, to protect illegal aliens, to keep illegal aliens in this country. And there's no sign that they're winning this war. They're losing. But think of that, the desperation, just the careless. Let's just all shoot ICE agents as they come out of the detainment center. And again, they failed. Thank God they failed, but they're not going to fail every time. It is remarkable. And you know what's even more remarkable? They have one political party. They have the Democrat Party on their side, motivating them, inspiring them, enabling them. And now, no Democrat that I've seen, not one, condemned an ambush of federal agents by criminal Antifa scum. They didn't. Did you see one? Because I sure didn't. Did AOC, even Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, did they come out and say, we can't do this. We can't resort to violence. You know why? Because they don't condemn it. They don't condemn it publicly. They don't condemn it privately. In fact, Alex Padilla, the senator from California, the lunatic who tried to charge Kristi Noem at a press conference and got tackled and taken down. He's introducing a bill to ban masks for ICE agents, to ban masks. Why would you do that? You know why they're wearing masks. You have this lunatic fringe that wants to kill them. They're literally shooting at them outside the detainment centers. Why would you want to identify them if you didn't want them dead? This is sick. With we played you the sound. There's a whole bunch of Democrats, Eric Swalwell, and they're all demanding they show their faces to identify themselves. The bill says, by the way, that they must show ID and show their faces. So these Antifa animals will know them, know who they are, track them down and kill them. And the Democrats are doing it, supporting that, saying, show your faces. Why are you covering your face if you're doing the right thing? Oh, gee, I don't know. Maybe because you have people armed with AR-15s who are willing to give up their lives to kill an ICE agent who is doing his job. not only doing his job, he's enforcing the laws that Congress wrote. That's what they're doing. So Congress writes the law, ICE is enforcing the law, and people in Congress want to stop ICE from enforcing the law, and they're willing to facilitate, to enable, to encourage violence. Truly amazing. And you know what else? They think they're winning. They think they're winning. Trump's plan for mass deportations a couple months ago had like 65, 70% support. People are watching this unfold. They're listening. They're being gaslit by the media saying, oh, they're grabbing up abuelas and innocent gardeners, and they are working overtime to demonize ICE, demonize the Trump administration for the mass deportation. It's not working. This is from CNN just 2 days ago. People still, despite the lies from the Democrats, despite the sob stories, people still are all in. This is what they voted for. This is what they want to see. Mass deportations. This, believe it or not, is from CNN. And by the way, the polls, New York Times, Marquette, CBS, ABC, none of which are right-leaning polls. They can't help. Just imagine if they were on the level. It'd still be at 70%, but it is overwhelmingly supported by the American public still 6 months into Trump's term. Watch this.
Deporting all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times, Marquette 64%, CBS News 57%, ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no argument.
Overwhelming support after all the lies you've been told. Oh, kids with cancer are being deported. 4-year-olds. You heard it every day for the last 6 months. It's not working. That's the good news. It's not working. The Democrats have Antifa on their side. They have these trans lunatics shooting cops, and Republicans. Trump has the people, the public, on their side. There's a report. I find this hilarious. For this, I want to do this. Report about the conditions at Alligator Alcatraz. This is what the Democrats, this is what the media thinks is going to work, telling you that the conditions for illegal alien criminals in their detention camp, they're so bad. They don't get a lot of exercise. Just like with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They said, oh, they're not feeding him. He's being tortured. And then Bukele, who I love, released a video showing Kilmar in the detention camp in El Salvador, fishing, gardening, lifting weights, eating 3 meals a day, sleeping in a nice, big, comfortable room. Here's a report from NBC about the conditions at Alligator Alcatraz. Of course, it's a convicted criminal who doesn't speak English. They'll get to that point. They've, surprisingly included that in the story. But we're supposed to feel bad because there are mosquitoes and by the way, everything in it was debunked by DHS like 10 minutes after they posted this. But check this out.
Yamsi Izquierdo on the phone describing what it's like inside the so-called Alligator Alcatraz. Says he's been at the detention facility out in the Everglades since Friday. No water to bathe, he says. It's been 4 days since he showered. 400 people he believes are inside the facility. Only gets fed once a day, he says, and some of the food had worms. Detention center lights are on 24/7. The mosquitoes, he says, are the size of elephants.
Elephants.
Izquierdo's partner, Katia, says he's a permanent resident who was arrested last week. First taken to TGK, then to Miramar, and finally to the Everglades facility.
Good morning, sir. You speak English?
No. Here is Izquierdo in bond court last Thursday.
You're charged with aggravated assault with deadly weapon and battery.
The police report says it all has to do with a violent dispute with a tow company worker who was trying to repossess a jet ski. Now back to the call. Complaints they're not allowed to go outside and the tents are freezing.
Freezing. So he's in he's in the Everglades in July. He wants to believe it's freezing. And the mosquitoes are the size of elephants. I don't know. When someone tells me that, I'm guessing they're exaggerating a little bit, but it is hilarious. They give you this report of how tough it is, and they show you he's got dyed hair, he's got these gold chains, and he's charged with aggravated assault. So he's a violent, illegal alien criminal. We're supposed to think, oh, he doesn't get enough time to exercise? What a shame. Is there a single honest American who sees that and goes, God, that's awful. I feel so bad. All right, since we spent most of the show bashing the Trump administration for the Epstein cover-up, let's get to the good news, the big news of the day. This is probably what this is what Hannity will feature tonight. Because, you don't want to get distracted by that little Epstein scandal. Let's get to the big news. This is good news. This is good news for all travelers. This means Ironhead no longer has to wear his orange Crocs on flights. You don't have to wear comfortable shoes because you no longer have to take your shoes off. It's not a big deal, but this is what the Trump administration is best at, looking at things that make no sense, government overreach, and saying, can we just end that? It's stupid. Nobody likes it. And they did. And I think everybody is pretty happy about this. Listen to Christy Neal.
We have some very exciting news to announce that today we have started a new no shoes policy with the the Transportation Security Administration. TSA will no longer require travelers to remove their shoes when they go through our security checkpoints. This is something that I know for quite some time people have talked about and discussed, and we know that when President Trump was elected that he pledged to make life better for all Americans. That includes those who are travelers going through our busy airports.
Didn't this start because people were making bombs out of their shoes pretty regularly?
Yeah, Richard Reed, I believe his name was. It was he had a bomb in his shoe and he failed to light the fuse, and all the rest of the passengers beat the crap out of him. It was a good story, but that was years ago. And I mean, when you do that, when you go through TSA, you know what they're doing. It makes no sense, and you often wonder why are they doing that? Why are they feeling up some old lady in a wheelchair? They know why they're doing this, because they can't profile. If they could profile, they'd know who the threats are, and they know some 80-year-old lady flying them down to the villages is not a threat, and they wouldn't make her take off her shoes or put her hands up so they could frisk her. So this is a win for common sense, but it's not enough. Not enough. We need TSA. We need Christy Neal to make a few more announcements. No more standing up the second the plane lands. Never, even if it's a long flight, people all stand up like they're going to get out sooner. You don't. And more importantly, no more trying to stuff a steamer trunk in the overhead compartment. That annoys me more than anything. Just check the freaking bag. It makes it easier. Maybe it holds you up for 10 minutes. There's nothing more annoying than people fighting for the overhead space because they don't want to check their bag. That and I could go over a million things here, but you know what else? Here's what they should do when they serve food. Just make a deal with Jersey Mike's or with Subway, and just serve wrapped up subs. You don't have to make the food. You don't need a kitchen. You could probably get a discount, as a promotion from a chain. Make it McDonald's. You telling me people on a plane wouldn't be thrilled if you walked through the plane with Big Macs or quarter pounders and fries and Cokes? That would be, people would just feel good. They'd say, oh, all right, man, I could, have a good cheat meal on my plane instead of wasting time making some disgusting chicken.
We fly so differently. I'm lucky if I get like graham crackers or something.
I know. Well, they used to get a meal, at least if you went for a few hours. But you're right, they don't give good snacks anymore. It's a shame. And it used to be a pleasant experience. It's a miserable experience. I say it all the time. When you travel, so much has come a long way. I mean, the hotels are better. Obviously Ubers and rental cars are better. There's so much about the experience that's better, except when you're on the plane, it's worse worse than it was 50 years ago. They have not made any advancements to make life easier or more comfortable until yesterday, when they announced you no longer have to take off your shoes. You still have to get felt up by some TSA agent. I think they should eliminate TSA agents. Let the airlines do it. Who has more stake in it than an airline, making sure there isn't a terrorist on board the airline? The airline should do it. All right, that'll do it. Do I have time for Stacey Abrams? What the hell? Stacey Abrams, obviously Democrats are hysterical. They're calling Trump a fascist, a dictator, all that nonsense. No one's buying it except for the Antifa scum. But nothing to me, this strikes me as so absurd that people like this, a leader in the Democrat Party on a late night talk show, when they do this thing about Trump canceling elections, nobody believes that. That's so silly. I mean, Trump's not canceling the election. Trump's not staying in office. That's never going to happen. These are people, by the way, who changed, who had a nominee who didn't get any votes, didn't even run, just got anointed in the middle of July. These are people who tried to kick Trump off the ballot, half the states in the country, and now they're worried about Trump canceling elections. And they take it seriously. I mean, if the host, whoever the host, should say, what are you talking about? No one's going to cancel elections. You're nuts. Listen to this lunatic.
You send the U.S. Marines into spaces they should not be. You send the National Guard in. You kidnap people off of the streets and pretend that's normal, because that's how you quiet dissent, because you make everyone afraid that if they don't do what you want, they might be next. And once you've done those 9 steps, step 10 is easy. That's when you decide there won't be new elections, because everyone's either afraid, poor, broken, or complicit.
Cancel elections. By the way, that woman is in trouble. She should be on the list, along with Fauci, Brennan, Clapper. Lee Zeldin said yesterday in that marathon cabinet meeting, I talked again about her taking $2 billion a year after her NGO, her company or agency had nothing, had $100. They got $2 billion to fight climate. Where is that? And why hasn't she been arrested? I'll keep asking until that day comes, but she should be on the short list for the DOJ for Pam Bondi or whoever replaces her. But all right, we will leave it there for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Show, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard